The program, inshallah, we'd like to have for our visiting shuyukh and scholars and imams. Last time we had a program has been about a month and a half or two. This time we're blessed with the presence of our dear brother and teacher, Sheikh Abdullah Jabir, who was an imam in LA for a couple years, I think, and then went to Georgia, and now he's here flying all the way from the southeast all the way to be with us here. MashaAllah, he gave a wonderful khutbah today. May Allah bless him. I don't get to hear a lot of khutbahs because I'm always giving one, but today's really imprinted my heart, MashaAllah, and is given with ikhlas. May Allah increase him, reward him, and make his trip more than what he asked for, and may Allah give him better than what he could imagine. Inshallah, make him use him as sabab of khair for this ummah. And all of us as well, may Allah increase us and make us benefit from this gathering. Ask that you please give him your attention, inshallah, make dua for him, and may Allah bless you all for taking your time. He's here with us today, and he has a program tomorrow morning, inshallah, for the youth at 11 a.m. Inshallah, we'll try to record that as well, and try to come, bring everybody that you have that's youth, and if you're not doing anything, please try to make the time and sit in gatherings of knowledge, for they hold a lot of good. And tomorrow night, inshallah, we will have dinner at 6:30. Unfortunate that food does draw a lot of people, but that's our condition. And that we're not really here for the food, we're here for a greater food that we're more in need of, which is spiritual sustenance. And our souls, our arwah, are more in need of that than the food, because face it, we've got plenty of food. We've all been eating, but we haven't had enough spiritual sustenance that we are more in need of. And the more spiritual sustenance we have, the less food we really need. So may Allah open up for him every good, and inshallah increase him. And without any further ado, invite Sheikh Abdullah Jabir to inshallah speak about the importance of an Islamic center. Jazakallahu khair al-jaza wa fiqhu li kulli khair.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة وتم التسليم على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وبعد. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ألف بين قلوب المسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم انصر المسلمين في الشام وفي العراق وفي الصومال يا رب العالمين، في كل مكان. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين وقل من ذلك. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beseech him to increase us in our love. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us and broaden our hearts for one another. Give us a tawfiq and ability to understand the greatest sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was his character. The greatest mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent to teach character. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Right, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that I had been sent to perfect the character of man, and that's what we have to work on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us Allahumma jamil bi khulqi nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautify us, not through our physical clothes only, but enable us to beautify ourselves through the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So definitely it's a great joy to be here again. Beloved brother, disrespected Imam, for him and his community, Brother Mansour, for hosting me, and the entire community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of you, and I'm very grateful for this invitation. I do ask you to excuse my coughing. I was told by my mom that you should not go on Wednesday because I had the flu Monday, and she pulled out the mom card. Don't you know listening to your mom is fun? Don't you know that? So parents do that sometimes. And I said, it's okay, I'll be okay. And then I started taking the herbal teas, and every brother that I would meet in the masjid, Imam, drink some honey, it's the sunnah. You guys drink too much honey, overdose on honey, it's not going to be the sunnah anymore. Just because something is sunnah doesn't mean you overdo it. That's a misunderstanding. Brother, it's sunnah. Yeah, it's sunnah, but you don't want to overdo it. Imam Muslim, rahimahullah, he ate so much dates that it actually caused him a lot of problems, which later on led to his demise. So yes, eating dates is also good, right? So brother, let's go to what is it called here? We call it sweet tomatoes, soup plantation.
Yeah.
You go to soup plantation, brothers are filling up their plates with olives. Don't you know a teen was zaytun? Yeah, that's there, but doesn't mean you overdo it, right? So sometimes we think just because something is mentioned in the Quran, we're immune to just overdoing whatever, you know? So that's not right. My mother was on my case, but alhamdulillah, I guess love is something very strong, and love for the ummah that we have sometimes drives us to come and join. So may Allah accept all of us. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So the topic today, for tonight, is the importance a masjid plays in a community, right? So the ahmiyah and the importance of the role of the masjid in the community. So before I start, what I would do, share with you, I want to start off by highlighting different roles that the masjid of Rasulullah played. Now what I want you to do, I'm going to try to ask you questions, and I want a little bit of feedback from the young brothers, sisters, and the elders also. So when I started thinking about this, I said, okay, if we're talking about a masjid, the most ideal masjid to look at is Masjid al-Nabawi, right? To look at the masjid of Rasulullah and see what did the masjid of Rasulullah serve as? What was it utilized as? Now, I'm not making any of this up from my own pocket, okay? These are abwab bin Sahih al-Bukhari. These are the chapter headings from Sahih al-Bukhari. I did not write all of them down. This is dealing with all the chapter headings that deal with the masjid. Again, I did not cover all of them. I covered a few that I'm going to share with you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And you're more than welcome to tell me, hey, I have a question, or hey, you're talking too much. You know, quit yapping. Up to you. So the first one, Babu Dhikr al-Ilm wal-Futya fil Masjid. The Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it served as an institution of knowledge, right? An institution of knowledge. Bab man da'a lit-ta'am fil masjid wa man ajaba fi. It served as a venue for communal feast. So people would invite people to the masjid and people would come and join. Now again, just remember, where am I mentioning this from? Sahih al-Bukhari. These are the chapter headings of Sahih al-Bukhari and the different ways that the masjid was utilized. And I think it'll give us an opening to understanding what role a masjid has. Because sometimes we have a very narrow understanding of what a masjid is, right? Although the masjid, you know, it's a place of sujood, right? But it is the heart of the community. And the success of the community is completely dependent upon how successful we are in utilizing and providing services from our masajid. Continuing on, Bab al-Qada wal-Li'an fil Masjid bayn al-Rijali wal-Nisa. It served as a court of legislation, settling family disputes. Bab Nawm al-Mar'a fil Masjid. It served as a place of shelter for sisters who didn't have another place to stay. They slept in the masjid. Bab Nawm al-Rijal fil Masjid. Men also slept in the masjid when it was necessary. So it served as a place of shelter. Bab al-Shi'r fil Masjid. It served as a venue that encouraged cultural arts. Right? The Prophet ﷺ, he told Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala amongst others to stand up and recite poetry. So this is the cultural art of the Arabs of that time. So it served to encourage cultural arts of the time. Babu dhikr al-bay'i wa shira' ala al-minbar fi masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It served as a venue for economic discussions. What's happening in the market? What can Muslims do to strengthen themselves economically? So this was something that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned ala al-minbar Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the pulpit of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Bab al-Asir wal-Gharim yurbatu fil Masjid. It was a place that was used to detain people. It was used as a prison, right? To detain people, but it was the most beautiful of prisons. It was a prison that led you to Iman, as we know. Somebody was tied in the masjid, next thing you know, they're accepting Islam. I mean, imagine. tied and accepting Islam. Today we try to go invite people, feed them biryani, give them heartburn, and we still can't get them to accept Islam. Right? This is a problem. So it served as a place of detainment. Right? باب الخيمة في المسجد المرضى وغيرهم. It served as a place of a hospital. It played the role of a hospital and a clinic. باب دخول المشرك في المسجد. It served as a venue for interfaith dialogue, for conversation in the community with other faiths, other walks of life. باب أصحاب الحراب في المسجد. It served as a place for exercise and training. Right? The people of Habash used to come and they used to practice their spearing and all that. Right? So they served as a place of exercising and training. Now, the reason I mention this is so that we understand the different roles a masjid plays in the community. What we usually think of the role of a masjid is very narrow. So I want to share with you something Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he said. The other day I was reading this and I came across it, so I would like to share with you, brothers and sisters, what he said, and then I'll continue. So this is a bit on a tangent. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he said, قال الشافعي رحمه الله إنما العلم علمان علم الدين وعلم الدنيا. Right? When it comes to knowledge, knowledge is of two types. One that relates to your hereafter, the knowledge of the deen, and one that relates to the knowledge of this world. And then he says, فالعلم الذي للدين هو الفقه والعلم الذي للدنيا هو الطب. And he says the knowledge that refers to the deen is fiqh, or Islamic jurisprudence, or fiqh generally covers everything, aqidah, and the juristic point also. So the whole of fiqh and how a Muslim should live his or her life. And the knowledge that deals with the dunya and how to live in this world is that of tib, which means the human body, refers to the human body in general, because the subject of medicine is what? The human body. So again, how the human body functions. So what's beautiful here is after that, what does he say? And I'm going to read this and I want you to tell me what he means by this. He says, لا تسكنن بلدا لا يكون فيه عالم يفتيك عن دينك ولا طبيب ينبئك عن أمر بدنك. Right? And he says, so don't live in a land where there is no scholar, religious scholar, to inform you with regards to your religious affairs. Don't live in a land where there is no religious scholar. There is no religious scholar ready to inform you about your religious affairs. And don't live in a land where there is no worldly, and he refers to a doctor who, there's no doctor that can inform you about your sickness and illness of your physical body. Now, I want you to tell me, what do you understand from this?
A healthy person worships Allah better.
A healthy person worships Allah better. So, meaning in the dunya you need both. You need both. So, I'm going to go back to my point. What Imam Shafi rahimahullah is saying, for me and you to sustain ourselves and actually earn Jannah, you and I need to utilize the life of this world. The life of this world is the field where you sow your seeds and you reap them in the hereafter. Right? So the issue only comes, and Allah says it very clearly, the issue is not you having a good job or driving a nice car or living in a nice house. MashaAllah, you guys live in Santa Barbara. This is a vacation spot. Right? For some. Right? So there's nothing, but the issue comes, بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. The problem is when a person prefers, and that's the word, تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيا. When I prefer the life of this world above the life of the hereafter. That's the issue that Allah has a problem with. Other than that, you can't find somebody richer than Sulaiman, alayhi salam. He had the first airlines. Seriously, he did. He would غُدُوهَا شَهْرٌ وَرَوَاهُ عَشَرٌ. He used to travel a month's journey. That's an airline in the morning. I don't even think an airline can do that. Well, maybe, right? But when you look at Sulaiman alayhi salam, he had control over the wind, right? This is amazing. So wealth is not what's forbidden, but falling in love with the wealth is what's forbidden. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that why is it that we have a narrow understanding of what a masjid is? Why do you think? Usually we believe masjid is for salah, and we see even communities breaking up over this, right? So what is it? Is it only for salah? Or is it for all these things? So if you think about it, all it is, the masjid serves the purpose that it faces. So if there's a challenge and a need, the masjid serves. It's not like people just come and just chill at the masjid and put their sleeping bags. No, that's not what it means. Hey, let's just go sleep in the masjid. No, if there was a need, people slept in the masjid. If there's a need, right? If there's a need for economic discussion, the Prophet talked about it, right? Today, if the Imam or somebody talks about economic affairs, astaghfirullah, it's the masjid. How can you talk about economy? Well, because economy affects us, that's why, right? So, I mean, so why is it that we have a very narrow understanding of what the masjid is? So I encourage myself, my wife, anybody that comes around me and gets tired of hearing this, read. You have to read. There's nothing that I can say to point out the importance of reading, besides the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His infinite wisdom, chose the very first verse is Iqra. My teacher used to say, what's beautiful is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Iqra, which is fa'al amr, which is a command verb. Iqra, read. And then Allah does not tell you what to read, but Allah tells you the method to read. You got to think about that. Iqra, read. Oh, Allah, what should we read? Allah doesn't tell you. But Allah tells you how to read. Iqra, read. Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. But read remembering Allah. Remembering Allah. Because if you lose Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the path of knowledge, then knowledge is ghurur. Knowledge brings pride within a person. Deceptive. Knowledge is very deceptive. Right? Knowledge is very deceptive. Knowledge can drive me and you to think, I know. Right? And that's what Shaitan had. He thought he knew. Although, his analogical deduction was right. What he actually presented as the proof is right. But man, come on, you got to watch in whose court you're presenting proof. You don't bring proof into my house, right? Imagine what you said is wrong, but now your son comes and tries to defend it. You said, before I smack you, better get on. Why? Because this is not your house. This is my house. And in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's bringing proof? Allah doesn't deal with that. No. Ar-Rajim, the one who has been kicked out, right? Far from Rahmah. That's Rajim, Shaitan al-Rajim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Iqra, read. Doesn't tell us what to read. So my teacher used to say, the maf'ul here is ambiguous. The object to read is ambiguous. Why is that? And the scholars say, read anything. Allah is telling you, read anything that's beneficial to you. Anything that will open your mind. Read. But when you read, you have to sift it. Through what? Always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep Allah as the focal point. Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Right? Then Allah tells us, because you didn't know. Allama al-insan ma lam ya'lam. You didn't know. Right? So reading. So if you study books like Ibn Khaldun's, who was the first sociologist, maybe, and in anthropology, if you study, rise and fall of nations, and other books, there was a book, it's called The Colonizer and the Colonized. In the 1950s, it was actually confiscated, and now it's back again. The image of the masjid has changed over the years. One of the main reasons is because of colonialism. Now, there may be other reasons. I'm not denying that. But I'm going to focus on one specific reason as to why and how it has affected us. Okay, so it's a bit of a journey with me. You have to bear, inshallah. What is the reason usually we look at in the past, why did colonizers go to colonize? What is the main point? Guys, what grade are you in? Ninth? Did you guys read about colonizers? Not yet? What about you? You in college, aren't you? No? You act like you're in college. So anybody, what was the purpose of colonizing? Yes. Spreading Christianity. What other purposes?
Extraction of resources.
Resources. And today, there's still colonizing going on. It just has a different name.
Divide and conquer.
You know? It's called weapons of mass, whatever. Right? So, see, the thing is, the game gets different. The Prophet, he said that when it comes, you'll have people changing names. It's still the same game. Right? You can package wine in a very beautiful way and say, no, it's just sparkling water that tastes really nice. Just because you give it a different name doesn't make it halal, although some people say it does, you know. So my point is, one of the main reasons for colonizing was because of to extract resources. Now, when you have colonizers coming in, they're usually the dominant force. Now, I stayed in South Africa for about 7-8 years, and what I saw is these people were second-class citizens in their own nation. They had rights on paper, but not in practicality. Right? People that come from India know how that feels. Right? They were colonized. Other people that come from Indonesia, Malaysia know how that feels. Right? People that come from West Africa, they know how that feels. Right? Other countries, and even in South Africa, Southern Africa, they know how that feels. You are second-class citizen in your own country. You don't have rights, right? You have curfews. Your life is on the line. So they come in to extract resources, and one of the things they do is enforce their culture. And part of their culture is, like the professor said, what? Religion. They bring religion. And that's why, again, religion is not bad. But religion has been utilized because religion is very close to people, their hearts. And when you mess with something very close to people's hearts, you can get them emotional. When people are emotional, that's when they make dumb mistakes or decisions. And they still do it today. All these fundamentalist groups, that's what they're doing, right? You spark a fire where you know it's going to burn, right? So now my main point. So you have these colonizers coming in, and in their goal to extract resources, what they're doing is implementing and enforcing their culture on you. Now, if somebody comes to your house, you know, anybody can answer this. If somebody comes to your house and tries to enforce their way of life, what is your natural defense mechanism? Well, you can't fight them because you don't have resources. You don't have the ability. Usually the natural defense mechanism is withdrawal, alienization. So in anthropology, you hear when you have clash of civilizations and people, one of the things is either you assimilate or integrate, or one is you alienate yourself. You alienate yourself to preserve your identity. Okay? So now you have these colonizers coming in, enforcing their way of life. So a lot of the scholars that were there, because they were in the subcontinent and other places, there were fatwa, legal verdicts, that to learn English was haram. Because at that moment, they looked at this colonization as the West. And that's where the whole idea of the East and West came in, right? And this enmity, misunderstanding rather, comes in. And so now to protect my own identity, to protect my religion, what the scholars did is they alienated themselves. So now you had madaris where specifically it was designed to teach only and only the Islamic sciences. Okay? Away from the secular sciences, right? And that's where you get a very big issue. Because as soon as you separate the two, and you continue that for 1-2 generation, that becomes now the status quo. That religion is separate and secular is separate. So that's what Imam Shafi is talking about. That if you do that, you're going to run into a problem. Because secularism, without the divine, which by definition secularism means that which is devoid of the divine, right? So by definition, if you're talking about secularism, it's going to take you away from God. As simple as it is. And if you're talking about the divine, it's going to take you closer to God, but it's going to take you away from the world and how to deal with it. So what happens now is we have the status quo where we believe that the religion is completely separate and it has nothing to do with the world. Now, this is the effect, one of the effects of colonization. Now, the problem is we come to the West. Our forefathers came to the West, but they're still in that bubble. And they don't know that they're victim of this. And it perpetuates here. So now what you see, that narrow view of protecting. My question is, if you really wanted to protect now, why are you coming to the West? Be true to yourself. I mean, we got to be true to ourselves. I should ask my dad, hey, why'd you come here? You want to protect? I mean, wouldn't it be easier to protect Islam back home? Definitely, I think so in many ways. You know, it would have been. So you come here, you want citizenship, you're doing anything to get it, lie, cheat, Allah knows what. Yeah, right? Back in the day, some of the people that you brought along are not even your real children. So you're doing all this crazy stuff to get here. And then you still want to be narrow because it's the mindset that we have. That, oh, no, we're separate. And now, what is the biggest downfall of this? Religion becomes irrelevant. A lot of times we don't realize. I'm telling you this because I'm a millennial. So when 9/11 happened, I was in third or fourth grade. And as growing up, it was a question that I had to ask myself. Because majority of my friends were not Muslim. Actually, none of them were Muslims. Right? So it was something that it was soul search. I had to understand, what am I coming to terms with? Right? So one of the things that I saw, it was still very irrelevant. It's very irrelevant. So our youth today find Islam to be irrelevant. Because every time we say, Abdullah, don't you know the Prophet ﷺ did this? Don't you know the Sahaba were like this? Don't you know the Tabi'in were like this? And he's looking at the father, he's like, yeah, but what are you? And it's an effect of that, of separating the sacred and the secular. Right? The scholars, they mastered the sacred and then they mastered and answered anything of the secular. Look at Al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. Right? Because now, because we've been separated for so long, there's almost a fear of engaging, because now if you engage, no longer do you have the tools to answer. No longer do you have the ability to answer some of those questions, right? So now that becomes an issue. So my point is, this is one of the reasons that we have a very narrow understanding of what the masjid is. Because this is how it's been. That withdrawal symptom that we have was due to the colonization that we went through. Now, when it comes to the masajid, in the West, we have to learn and talk to how to face reality. That's one thing. So one of the things that we have to come to terms with is we have to understand reality. Right? Some of the legislations that you're seeing today, if you ask me 10 years ago, things that we thought, forget 10 years ago. November 7th, okay? Things that we said, never, come on. 2016, we said, come on. Bernie got this. Right? Bernie got this. Millennials, I mean, we were counting on that guy. Right? No, Bernie's he's gonna see it through. Next thing you know, he gets pulled over. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does what he wills. And we have to come to terms with that. Right? And face reality, and then you have to now navigate through. The Prophet ﷺ never turned away from a challenge. Challenges are there to take you closer to Allah. That's simply what it is, right? Challenge, fitna, that's there to take you and I closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today, one of the challenges that has become, when we talk about even a masjid, is not only do we have a narrow understanding of what a masjid does and what it should do, but we plan for masjid day-to-day basis. That's a very big problem. Okay, today's Salah, Fajr Salah is at 6 o'clock. Okay, brother, what is it tomorrow? 6 o'clock. What is the next date? 6 o'clock. What about the whole month? It's 6 o'clock. Okay, everybody knows it's 6 o'clock. Why are you talking about something that's already understood? What Santa Barbara, what LA, what every masjid in America should be thinking about is not what we want to do this Friday. Where do we want to be in the next 15 years? Where do we want to be when our kids are in college? Right? Do we want this masjid to be here like this? Do you want to move forward? So one of the problems that I see when it comes to the importance, I mean, we have to understand the importance of the masjid is very obvious. But the problem is you can talk about how important the masjid is, and brothers, whoever builds a masjid for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will build him a palace. Yes. What if you invest in an infrastructure for millions of dollars and still it's misutilized? What was the point? Rather not have that building, invest in people. Right? So we need visionaries. The Prophet ﷺ taught us how to dream, and really dream big. Muslim Ummah, we don't know how to dream anymore. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us to look at the future. Be realistic in your approach, but dream big. And then do whatever you need to do and put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we know of this very famous incident. And what's amazing for me personally in this incident is the dynamics of this. I mean, there's a place to dream, right? Imagine people are like, oh, you know what? There's going to be impeachment. And next thing you know, Bernie Sanders and what's the senator from Connecticut? Warren something? Elizabeth Warren. That's going to be, it's a good dream, right? It's not realistic. It's not realistic. My point is there is always ways, time and place for dreaming. But the Prophet ﷺ taught us no. If you have trust in Allah and you have this beautiful affair going on with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this beautiful love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dream as much as you want. However you want. Allah will keep His promise. Right? Allah says in the Quran, لا تحزنوا. Right? وأنتم الأعلون. Allah says, don't grieve, don't be saddened. وأنتم الأعلون. You will be victorious. But in kuntum mu'minin, if you become believers. That's the condition. That's the condition of that. Right? You're gonna be victorious, but you gotta do your job. So here what's amazing is all the odds are against the Muslims. You know the story. All the odds are against the Muslims. Battle of Khandaq. Okay, the battle of the trenches. The Muslims are now facing an army 10,000 strong, right? The Quraysh and the Confederates, Al-Ahzab, the Confederates of the Quraysh, the group and the army of the Quraysh along with other tribes had come, 10,000 strong, and their aim was to cut Islam off at the root, attack in Medina and finish it once and for all. This was very, very dangerous. So we know Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anh, he comes and he introduces a foreign idea. That's beautiful. Foreign idea, right? To the Prophet ﷺ of art of war, right? To dig a trench. And the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, they're like, we never used this. This is not an Arab tactic, but this is a Persian tactic. And the Persians were actually masters of a lot of other things, right? Which we also know later on the Prophet sent some Sahaba to learn warfare, like how to build a catapult. The Prophet learned this. The reason I'm throwing all these things in the middle is that Islam has always interacted with humanity. We don't shy away from humanity. Islam is humanity. We came to show people what being a human is. But we forgot that. We became narrow-minded. So now we don't understand what our purpose is anymore. We talk about Jannah, but we make it seem like you have to leave the world, go into one of these mountains behind Santa Barbara with some goats and sheep, and you got to live up there, and that's the only way to go to Jannah. And our kids are hearing this like, what? How does that make sense? I can't play my Xbox up there. That's his biggest concern, right? I mean, I don't know how much my newsfeed of Facebook newsfeed is not going to work no more. Dad, I'm not going to have Wi-Fi. That's like qiyamah for them. No Wi-Fi? Ya Allah. So, the battle of the trenches. All the odds are against the Muslims. They're malnutrition because they don't have food to eat, under severe weather, limited time, and it's very strenuous work, digging rocky ground. You know, it's quite the work. And we know it was in this that there are hadiths of Rasulullah where the Sahaba, out of hunger pains. I mean, I'm talking about dreaming here, but look at the setup. There's no moment to dream here. But this was a time where the Sahaba, they come to Rasulullah and they lift their upper garment. And there is a stone tied to their stomach. And they say, oh, Prophet Allah, it's getting difficult. And the Prophet, out of his mercy, he lifts his. And he had 2 stones to hold him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. This is Sayyiduna Muhammad. Taught humanity. Right? Live. Don't do lip service. Right? And what's beautiful here, you have Jabir ibn Abdullah, radiallahu ta'ala an, he sees this, and then he goes to his wife and says, you know, it's looking really bad out there. Do we have anything to serve? And they had a kid, which is a baby goat. And it's not going to feed much, so he slaughtered it, and he told his wife to prepare this, and then he went off to Rasulullah. His wife said, just tell the Prophet ﷺ and a few people. I'm talking about dreaming. Right? I'm talking about dreaming. He comes to the Prophet ﷺ and he says, look, I have a little bit of food. If you and some companions come to the house, that'll be good. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ, he is afsahul Arab. He understands what Jabir ibn Abdullah is saying. It's not like, you know, he's making ta'weed. He understands what he's saying. He turns around and he says, okay, people, we got a party in Jabir's house. That's what he said. We have a party in his house. Let's go. And he's looking at him like, oh my God. And imagine, those who are married, you go to your wife and say, honey, I invited 20 brothers from the Masjid for breakfast. Brother, you're not going to get breakfast. Okay? For the next month. Okay? Don't do that. Okay? We shouldn't do that. We should never put our spouses in that difficult position. Because we look like the good guys. The food is ready, you know, and she's back there crying because she had to do all the work. And I'm laughing and joking, you know. And then even after they're gone, we're not even really there to clean. So he's very shocked. But what a wife he had. Allah, but what a wife he had. He's the man, he goes back, he's like, oh my God, look. I don't know what happened, I didn't do it. I'm telling you. I told him to bring 5-6 people. He announced to the whole army, everybody's coming. And then she says, did you tell the Prophet ﷺ that we don't have enough food? He said, yes. And he made the announcement himself? He said, yes. He said, then listen, it's between him and Allah. Don't worry about the physical food. The Prophet ﷺ knows how much food we have, and he still made the announcement. Know that he knows something, Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam. He knows something that we do not know. This is dreaming. Don't look at means. Oh, the administration. Forget the administration. Right? They answer, sorry to say this, they have to go to the toilet just like me and you. Nobody's special. Everybody's created from mima'im mahin, from a drop of worthless fluid. That's what the Quran says. I'm not talking about this. The Quran says mima'im mahin. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ mima'im mahin. Right? We've created man from a worthless drop of fluid. That's what we are, our real identity. right? Like the man, he was walking, and he was a scholar, and he was passing by, mashallah, everybody was giving him salam, assalamu alaikum ya shaykh, wa alaikum salam, assalamu alaikum ya shaykh. And he came across this beggar, this pauper, and this person didn't answer. He gave him salam. And he went up to him, he said, do you understand? Do you know who I am? You didn't give me salam? And the man, he looked at him, he said, I know you better than you know yourself. He took that as offensive. Astaghfirullah, how could you say that to me? I'm the scholar. He said, your beginning was a worthless drop of fluid. Your end, you become food for worms and insects. In the middle, you're a bag of trash. That's actually the description of the human being. That's the description of the human being. If right now you could smell what's within the stomach of a person, you would not sit here. You know what's amazing is that sins also have a stench. Sins also have a stench. That's why malaika, when a person is sinning, they don't stay around that person because they're very sensitive to smell. But sins also have a stench. Imagine if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to let open the stench of our sins. You could not be in the same house with your spouse. I could not be with people that I love. This is the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. So they come, and this is dreaming. But that is not the dream that I'm talking about right now. So when they are digging, so this is one. When they are digging, I'm going to try to stop as soon as possible, inshallah. When they are digging, وجد الصحابة الكرام صخرة كبيرة. They found this big boulder. This is the dream I'm talking about. All the odds are against them. They don't have food to eat, nor the numbers, nor the equipment to face this army. So they find this very big boulder. تحتاج لرجل قوي. And it needed a very strong man. And they called the strongest of all. They called Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They went to him, informed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came. فضربها ضربة الأولى فقال الله أكبر وأعطيت مفاتيح الشام إني أرى قصورها الحمراء. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took and he hit the boulder. When he hit the boulder, there was a spark. This is dreaming. And the Prophet told us to dream big. Okay? He hit the boulder and he said, Allahu Akbar. I have been given the keys of Sham, the greater Syria, of Sham. And I can see the red palaces, Qusur al-Hamra. I can see the red palaces of greater Syria. Now you look at the physical means. You have two stones tied. The Sahaba don't have food to eat, right? You're digging a trench against an army that you cannot face physically in numbers, right? And you're talking about conquering greater Sham, which is the present-day Syria, Jordan, Philistine, parts of Iraq, parts of Saudi. You're talking about conquering this and you don't have food to eat? Because the Muslim, you dream through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does the physical world have to do with anything? Khalid bin Walid, he was facing an army. He said, you know what, you guys stay back, just chill back. I'm going to go face them. He said, Khalid, you were against this whole army. He said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, those who remember Allah are alive. Those who don't remember Allah, they're dead. These people are dead. Tawakkul is something that you can't even imagine. This is some real stuff. The Sahaba, they had yaqeen. So this is the first. Then the Prophet, he hits it again and he says, "U'titu Faris, inni ara al-madain." The Prophet, he said, now I have been given the keys to Persia. Now, Persia is a superpower of that time. And the Prophet is just saying, I have been given the keys to Persia. What's amazing is the Sahaba didn't even question because they knew the words of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was haqq. You don't think the words of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are haqq? The Prophet ﷺ in Hadith Jibreel, I say this as a proof for me, myself. Understand who Muhammad ﷺ is. Understand when we say Sadaqallah wa Sadaqa Rasuluh, what does that mean? When we say Allah and His prophets have spoken the truth, you got to understand what that means. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, when he was asked about the famous Hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, when he comes and he sits next to him, knee to knee, and he asked him if he was Mal Islam, Mal Iman, Mal Ihsan, and then he says, Mata Sa'a, when is the hour? When is the day of judgment? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the one asking and the one being asked are same. Nobody knows. The knowledge of this is عند Allah, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then here does he say, why don't you inform me of some signs? And the Prophet, he says, أن تلد الأمة ربتها. Right? You will see that a woman will give birth to her master. Now, one of the explanations of that is disobedient children. Leave that aside, move on. The Prophet says what? أن ترى الحفاة العراة. You will see people bare feet, bareheaded, disheveled hair, not even proper clothing. يتطاولون في البنيان. Shepherds, basically. Desert shepherds. يتطاولون بابتفاعل. They're competing against one another in making high-rise buildings. صدق الله صدق رسوله. Don't you see that happening? Honey, can we go for Umrah and stop by Dubai? That's what that fits in. Right? Don't do that, by the way. If you're going, stop by Dubai before you go for Umrah. Not on the way back. You mess up your Umrah completely. Okay? And people do that. But that's an open manifestation of that hadith. My question is, why can't you stop it? If you know, and you're Arab, you know this hadith, everybody knows, why can't you stop it? Because the Prophet ﷺ spoken. You can't stop it. Once Muhammad ﷺ speaks, it must happen. You can't stop it anymore. Right? So the Prophet, he said, I've been given the keys to Persia. Right? I can see Madain, the fields of Madain. And then again, he hits it the third time. He said, Allahu Akbar, وَعْتِيتُ مَفَاتِيحَ صَنْعَاء إِنِّي لَأَرَى أَبْوَابَهَا الْآنِ. And then he says, the third hit, he says, Allahu Akbar, I've been given the keys of Sana'a, right? The capital of Yemen, right? Sana'a. And he says, I can see the doors and the gates of Sana'a right now. And the Sahaba, they're looking at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're looking at Rasulullah in amazement. This is amazing. We don't have things to eat and look at what Rasulullah is talking about. But they had understanding who he was. Right? And it goes back to the same thing. We have to understand what role the Masjid plays and dream big. Understand reality. Understanding reality, face reality. Right? So that is very important. And the reason I was saying that is because we have to stop planning from day-to-day activity. No. Where do we want to be as the community of Santa Barbara in next 20 years? Do you want to have a Muslim school in Santa Barbara? Do you want to have Muslim business in Santa Barbara? Because if you want to retain identity, you can't only focus on people. You have to focus on social activism. You have to change society. See, I can work hard on my son, right? By the way, I don't have a son. It's very dangerous. The rumors spread like anything. Imam said he has a son, but he doesn't have a son from his wife. Was there another wife? Where does he have the son from? Then my wife's going to be upset at me for no reason.
And you're definitely not going to eat for the next 30
I'm not going to eat for, I'm going to have a stone next time you see me. No, I don't want that to happen. I like to eat, alhamdulillah. So hypothetically, if I'm teaching my son as much as I can, but then he's going into that school where he's being bombarded, and I'm not teaching him the dini aspect of how to battle, which is the majority of the cases. We're not teaching our children the tools necessary to retain their faith and be strong. So he's in that environment, or she's in that environment. You can work as much as you want, but there are secondary parents. The TV is a parent. The school system is a parent. His friends are parents, right? They're arbab. They're people that nurture the child. And most of the time in the wrong way, right? For some people, Drake is a parent. You know that? The way Drake dances. Silento is a parent. Chief Keef is a parent.
You just lost half the room.
I know, I did that on purpose. You're like, what is this guy saying? Astaghfirullah al-azim in the masjid. You know. Some people tell me, Imam, how can you say Drake or how can you say Shah Rukh Khan in the masjid? I said, I don't know. You tell me. Allah says Fir'aun in the Quran.
Mic drop.
just walk away, just mic drop and walk away. Done. So again, narrow understanding, right? Oh, so you can say it in your house, but not in the masjid? Allahu Akbar. I could be wrong. So we have to really think about where we want to be as a community. Because I can try my level best to fix my son, my daughter, but if me and you don't go and work in society, you're eventually going to lose that child again. What is the main point the Prophet he teaches us in that hadith where you have a man, he killed 99 people, and then he killed another person, and then he comes to a scholar and he says, will Allah forgive me? He said, yes, on the condition that you make hijrah, away from evil society. That's a condition of tawbah sometimes, by the way. Not only, some people are astaghfirullah. That's not tawbah. Right? Yeah, that's not tawbah. Like people call you before they go for umrah, astaghfirullah, forgive me, I'm going for umrah. What do you mean you forgive? You were backbiting me yesterday, what do you mean forgive you? It's just like, this is tawbah, Allah's going to forgive me. Allahu Akbar. So, the Prophet he was sent to change hearts of people, but society also. Because if you don't change society, and that pure heart is left in that vile society, that society will eventually poison that pure heart and overcome and destroy. And that's where you have the simple, people that go to drug rehabs. When they come back, they rebound usually because they're back in the same crowd. And that's what we're talking about. People are like, hey brother, I really enjoyed the i'tikaf in the masjid. I felt the iman. Of course you're going to feel the iman. You're in the masjid for 10 days. Tell me the same thing when you're back at work. No, but that's where the challenge is, right? And we're as weak as the weakest chain, the link on the chain. That's our weakness, right? So that's what we have to be. Understand reality, deal realistically, dream big, dream for the future, have plans, have your head. Where do you want to be as a community, right? And wallahi, sometimes you don't even have to have the financial means. You don't have to have financial means. Allah will provide. Musabbib al-asbab. He will provide. So that is there. To imagine and dream big. With that, inshallah, I will share with you my favorite personality in the near past, Malcolm X, rahimahullah. He said, tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. Tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. That's the only chance. How do you see a better tomorrow? Prepare for it today. And what that usually starts off when you're talking about the Muslim community is the masjid and how you want to establish the masjid, right? So I didn't go into the finer details of what a masjid is supposed to do. My ultimate goal was just to make us understand that we do have a problem, and that is that narrow understanding. Now, what I would like to encourage myself and all of you is to start talking. Just talk. Okay, what do we need to do? Some people, like the other day I was talking to somebody, he said, Imam, we have this project that's called 96%. So 96% are obviously the vast majority who don't come to the masjid. 96% of our youth. So he said, Imam, why don't we do a concert? I said, yeah. Brother, just next time, just stay quiet. Don't. Meaning, so what my point is, you have to be realistic. So, but the good thing was, because me and him had a relationship, the only thing I told him, I said, okay, let's say you start off with a concert and you attract a good number. And then you figure out that even a concert is not enough. Then what you going to do? What's your next step? Allah knows, it's going to be something really absurd. Something I'm thinking not even halal at all. Right? Meaning you can't, but it's good to discuss. Because some people, like, I can tell you that brother I know, wallahi, he did not mean any evil by it. He genuinely gave that opinion. And you have to appreciate that. Because it is out of the concern of the deen that he's giving that opinion. Although it's wrong. Or it may not be the best option. But you have to appreciate the effort. Right? So discuss. So that is whatever has been said is good is from Allah and His Rasul, and all the jokes is from myself. I apologize for that, and anything that is not according to Quran and Sunnah, that is my mistake, and from the whispers of Shaitan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of us. Ameen. Yes.
Can I ask you a question? We have time.
Bismillah.